That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, this has been by far and away our most requested video this offseason. Y'all are wanting to see rookie rankings. I probably get 5 to 10 DMs every single day on Patreon asking for these rankings, asking what I think of rookie wide receiver X. And here, I'm going to be talking about them. We're going to be going over our way too early rookie wide receiver rankings for this 2021 draft class. Now, I will say, guys, this is a way too early rankings. We still have so much of the process to go through. We still have the NFL Combine. At least I hope we get the NFL Combine. If not, we are going to get pro days at the very least. We still have the NFL Draft to see landing spots. We still need to see the NFL Draft capital at the same time. So I promise you, these rankings are going to look very different 3 months from now. But it's still important to track these wide receivers throughout the course of the entire process. I will definitely be diving a little bit deeper on the class in future videos, but I only have so much time to go through, and I want to make sure I can give each player their due credit. And before we get into the video, guys, if y'all have not already, go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can get notified whenever we go live, and you can hop in a mock draft with us because we have Dynasty rookie mock drafts on the way. I promise y'all, they are coming. I know y'all have been asking, and if you want to get in those, make sure you have those notifications on so you can come in that live stream right away. But that's it. Let's dive into these rankings, and let's start it off with our wide receiver 1, who I already announced to be our wide receiver 1 a few videos ago, and this is going to be Devonta Smith. So I know this is going to be a little bit of a controversial rating, with most people having JaMarr Chase at wide receiver 1. But if we are looking at Devonta Smith, I mean the 2020 Heisman winner with an absurd season this past year. I mean 142 receiving yards per game, almost 10 receptions per game, 23 total touchdowns. I mean, just ridiculous. I know a lot of people in the Dynasty community want to point out the fact that it was in his senior season. He did stay all 4 years at Alabama, which is generally a big red flag for these wide receiver prospects. Now, I want to spend just 10 seconds talking about why it is a red flag, because I completely agree with you in that we should be a little bit hesitant with these wide receivers who stay all 4 seasons. And it's because generally, if you have the talent to be able to go and be a real difference maker at the NFL level, you see those wide receivers historically. They declare for the draft after their true junior season when they are 21 years old. I mean, if you look at historical hit rates, the players that were drafted in the first 2 rounds at the NFL level that were only 21 years old and only stayed 3 years at their respective colleges, they have a significantly higher hit rate compared to these guys that stayed all 4 years, these guys that came out after their senior seasons. Now, we can attribute this to because the guys who had the talent were able to come out right away. The guys who were able to come out right away were able to continue to develop their game once they got to the NFL level, so they are not close to their ceiling quite yet. Whereas if you look at a player like, just say, let's pull a name out of the hat, Keyshawn Vaughn, perfect example, the guy that we were not coming close to in Dynasty rookie drafts a season ago. And that was because of his age. That was because he stayed at Vanderbilt so long that he, yes, was one of the better running backs in the draft, but that was because he decided to wait around and to continue to develop his game, where those other running backs just did not get the opportunity to do so. So of course, you're going to look a lot better coming out of college, but you have to question how much room does that player have to grow. And here with Devonta Smith, I'll say a couple things. I mean, one, this was a truly historic season at Alabama from him, winning the Heisman Trophy. I think that we have to say, even if he does not grow past this point, he is going to be an impact player at the NFL level. And two, I am not worried in the slightest that he decided to stay all 4 seasons, because he has the perfect excuse. He played with some of the best wide receivers in college every single season at Alabama. I mean, in 2017, so his true freshman year, he was really unable to get anything going. He was unable to see the field. So his breakout age is going to be a lot later on than some of these other elite wide receiver prospects. But let's look at the wide receivers that were playing ahead of him. I mean, we had Calvin Ridley, and Calvin Ridley at this point was like 23 years old. You are expecting an 18-year-old Devonta Smith to be able to outproduce a 22-year-old Calvin Ridley. You had Jerry Jeudy, You had Henry Ruggs, both guys that were selected in the top 15 picks of this past year's draft. You have Robert Foster. If you don't know who Robert Foster is, I talked about him on the video where we discussed Devonta Smith about a week ago. But he was a wide receiver that actually made an impact for the Buffalo Bills as an UDFA a few seasons back. His career did not quite pan out at the NFL level, but still definitely a quality wide receiver on his own right. And then you also had Josh Jacobs, who was a decent receiver of the football as well. So, I mean, you have playmaker after playmaker after playmaker all ahead of him in 2017, so we can give him the pass there. And you look at 2018, I mean, the same thing here. I mean, you have Jerry Jeudy. You have Jaylen Waddle. Jaylen Waddle is a player that we'll talk about later on in this video. You have Henry Ruggs. And you also have Irv Smith Jr. Irv Smith Jr., one of the young stud tight ends currently breaking out in Minnesota. Very excited to see how his career progresses. Then you go to 2019. Devonta Smith was actually able to lead Alabama in receiving in 2019. This was ahead of Jerry Jeudy. This was ahead of Henry Ruggs. This was ahead of Jaylen Waddle. Also, there was Najee Harris there. I mean, so we saw in 2019, he was able to come out and he was able to prove that he was a more impactful wide receiver than Henry Ruggs, than Jerry Jeudy. Then he stayed at Alabama in 2020, and he was able to put one of the best wide receiver seasons in the books of all time, winning the Heisman Trophy. I mean, you have everything here with Devonta Smith. Please don't be overthinking the advanced analytics in his breakout age and the fact that he stayed all 4 years at Alabama. It's all here. He has his reasoning. I mean, Devonta Smith, truly an elite player at the wide receiver position. I'm going to be extremely excited to draft him as the first wide receiver overall, unless maybe we see just JaMarr Chase come out and destroy him at the NFL Combine, unless we see JaMarr Chase go significantly ahead of him in the NFL Draft, or we see JaMarr Chase have a much better landing spot. I mean, Devonta Smith is going to be my guy at number 1. But now let's talk about our guy at number 2, which is going to be JaMarr Chase. Okay, so here with JaMarr Chase, I mean, the same exact conversation that we had with Devonta Smith is going to be in play, where we are looking at his peak season, and we have a great NFL wide receiver playing alongside him. This was in 2019, where JaMarr Chase was playing alongside Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson being able to come out and have one of the most impressive rookie wide receiver seasons of all time, if not the most impressive rookie wide receiver season of all time. And if you look at these stats side by side, when JaMarr Chase was a year younger than Justin Jefferson, Chase was actually able to outplay Justin Jefferson with Joe Burrow throwing them the ball. He had almost 200 more receiving yards. Actually, he had over 200 more receiving yards, with JaMarr Chase having close to 1,800, and with Justin Jefferson having about 1,550. You look at the yards per reception, JaMarr Chase completely blew Justin Jefferson out of the water here with 21 receiving yards per reception compared to Justin Jefferson's 14. You look at receptions total on the season, JaMarr Chase actually had less receptions than Justin Jefferson, but not something we need to be focusing in on too much considering what he was able to do per target and per reception. He had more touchdowns than Justin Jefferson at the same time. Now, I am not saying that JaMarr Chase is a player that we should have over Justin Jefferson in Dynasty. I mean, if you hear any analyst saying that they would rather have JaMarr Chase over Justin Jefferson in Dynasty Fantasy Football, they simply do not know what they're talking about. You simply need to go down there, unsubscribe, unfollow, wherever they are. Never listen to that person again because they don't understand how to play Dynasty. They don't understand how hit rates work. But we can acknowledge the fact that JaMarr Chase is a better wide receiver prospect than Justin Jefferson. That is completely fair. JaMarr Chase is most likely going to go in the top 10 of the NFL Draft. If he doesn't go top 10, he'll definitely be top 15. I mean, he is truly an elite level player, but I think we have to have him here at 2, behind Devonta Smith. I mean, with JaMarr Chase, we only have 1 season of production because he decided to opt out in 2020 compared to Devonta Smith's entire profile. So I'm going to go with Devonta Smith over JaMarr Chase, but JaMarr Chase is still an elite wide receiver prospect, someone that we need to be excited about. I mean, he outproduced in 2019 at a younger age Justin Jefferson, and Jefferson, we can all agree, is one of the stars at the NFL level currently. All right. So now our next wide receiver is going to be someone that really has not had a fun season, has not had something to get excited about since 2018. So this is going to surprise a lot of people because I know he's going to be further down their draft boards than mine. But this is going to be Rondale Moore. Okay, so Rondale Moore for me is honestly an easy answer at number 3. I mean, he is an elite level athlete. That's the entire story about Rondale Moore. I mean, you are looking at his athletic profile, and it is quite possibly one of the most impressive athletic profiles that we are going to have once we have his official testing numbers, because his official testing numbers, this is, I mean, official. This is not hand-timed, self-reported. No, these are official numbers for Rondale Moore at 18 years old. Coming out of high school, Rondale Moore was able to run a 4.33, and he was able to have a 42.7-inch vertical. He was able to log a 133 spark score. I mean, if you look at Rondale Moore's spark score when he was 18 years old and compare it to the wide receivers who just came into the NFL at 21, 22, 23, I mean, the only wide receivers that had a higher spark score than an 18-year-old Rondale Moore were Donovan Peoples-Jones, Henry Ruggs, Chase Claypool, and Denzel Mims. I mean, I am so excited to see what Rondale Moore is going to be able to do at the NFL Combine. Like I said, if we have an NFL Combine, maybe it's going to have to be at his pro day. But regardless, I cannot wait to see that happen. But the one problem here with Rondale Moore is he's listed at 5'9", 180 pounds. And I know this looks undersized, but if you are used to looking at these wide receivers coming into the NFL level, if you're used to scouting these wide receiver prospects, we know generally the schools decide to list the wide receiver a little bit bigger than what they usually are. I mean, generally they give them an extra inch, they give them an extra 10 pounds just to be nice because they're their guy. And so with a player like Rondale Moore, I'm fine if he is actually 5'9", 180 pounds, but if he comes in at 5'8", possibly like 5'7 and a half, possibly 175 pounds, if that happens, I mean, we have to be worried about Rondale Moore because he would possibly be such a strong outlier that we would have no wide receiver to ever compare that kind of profile to. And generally with those outliers, there's a reason they're outliers. It's because that's not a successful body type at the NFL level. So that is reason for concern. So that's another reason we need to see those numbers from his pro day. We need to see those numbers from the NFL Combine, whatever we get from Rondale Moore. But regardless of his size, regardless of his insane athleticism, let's focus in on his true freshman season when he was 18 years old, and let's see what he was able to do. And what he was able to do is log almost 9 receptions a game, over 110 total yards a game, and 14 total touchdowns. And he actually won the Paul Hornung Award, and the only running backs or wide receivers that were able to win that award over the past like 10 seasons. I mean, even before that, we were looking at Tavon Austin, obviously not a massive hit at the NFL level, but you have Odell Beckham Jr., you have Christian McCaffrey, you have Saquon Barkley, you have Rondale Moore, and you have Devonta Smith. And Rondale Moore was able to win this at 18 years old as a true freshman. So I know y'all are probably so excited to hear what he was able to do in 2019 and 2020. This is the reason why he's at wide receiver 3 and not wide receiver 1. It's because in 2019, we really did not see him at all, pretty much injured the entire year. And in 2020, I mean, we know that his season was pretty much ruined due to COVID, due to his conference. So yeah, I mean, it sucks that we don't have more data on Rondale Moore, but you look at his elite true freshman year at 2018, what he was able to do at 18 years old, you look at how athletic he projects to be, and we have to get excited about this player. The only concern is his size, but that should be answered for us in the coming months. That's why I said these are way too early rankings. I mean, he's a player that if he comes in way undersized, I mean, he could be dropping down the list significantly. All right, so now let's go over and let's talk about a wide receiver that I referenced early on this video, and this is going to be Jaylen Waddle. Okay, so with Jaylen Waddle coming out of Alabama, playing alongside Devonta Smith, I mean, he is someone that I have a hard time evaluating because we look at throughout his entire career, he has been playing with some of these other top-end producers. Like I just said, I do not need to go back through the list where he had Jerry Jeudy, he had Devonta Smith, he had Henry Ruggs, all playing alongside him. But what we can say with Jaylen Waddle is in 2019, he was able to outproduce Henry Ruggs. And in 2020, he definitely had limited action due to him missing the majority of the season with an ankle injury. But he was able to produce in the games where he did play with almost 5 receptions a game, with almost 100 receiving yards a game, and a ridiculous 21 yards per reception. And this is going to be another speed guy. Now, I'll say in Dynasty Fantasy Football, generally I am looking to avoid the players that profile to just be that field stretching option, the guy that's definitely going to help his NFL offense and be drafted extremely high and get paid in the NFL because of what he's able to do for creating so much space underneath for everyone else to operate. But generally, that does not lead to a ton of target volume. When you are looking from scouts right now, they're drawing comparisons to Tyreek Hill. You're looking at his speed. And going into Alabama, I mean, he has an official 4.37 documented. I mean, if you look at what his official time was at some camps at 18 years old, I mean, he was running in the low 4.5s, high 4.4s. So generally, I think we're going to be expecting Jaylen Waddle to run in the mid 4.4s. So he's nowhere close to a Henry Ruggs. But he is someone that is a big play threat. He is someone that has that speed. He should be drafted very high in the NFL draft due to the speed. So he's a very safe player to rank here at number 4. Okay, so now our next player is going to be someone that analytical guys are all over. I mean, if you love metrics, you love this wide receiver. This is going to be a Rashod Bateman coming out of Minnesota. And I understand we are looking at Bateman, and we're not getting too excited about the raw numbers. I mean, in 2020, he only played 5 games before opting out due to COVID. In 2018, you were looking at the raw numbers, and they don't look fantastic. But why the metric guys love him is not only his size, where he's listed at 6'2", 210 pounds. So obviously this is prototypical size, but also his breakout age and his dominator rating. So he was able to break out at 18 years old, which puts him in the 94th percentile for breakout age. And that is actually extremely predictive for NFL success at the wide receiver position. Then you look at his dominator rating, and he was able to control so much of that Minnesota offense that he was able to accrue an 88th percentile dominator rating. That is also a very high number, which is predictive of fantasy wide receiver success at the NFL level. And if you look at his best collegiate season, that was 2019, where he was able to accrue close to 100 receiving yards a game, close to 4.5 receptions a game, with a ridiculous over 20 yards per reception here as well. So with Rashod Bateman, another player that we're definitely going to have to continue to research throughout the course of the offseason. Another player that could be moving down this list if anybody pops at the NFL Combine, if anybody goes a lot higher than expected during the NFL Draft. But for now, I think it's safe with his advanced metrics to rank him here at number 5. All right. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop that like, leave that comment, subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps us out. And yeah, that's it. I hope I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.